not me casually finding out that my father might have other children. So let me jump this off by saying that in my father's younger days, he was injured in a sport, and they told him because of this injury that he would have problems having children in the future. As you can imagine, this caused a rift between him and my mother because he quote-unquote genuinely thought that I was not his child at first. It was proven later that I was. Unfortunately, I have some keen features of my father and his old dusty-ass family. Be that as it may, he was a deadbeat dad from the jump. Ever since he asked me for explicit pictures of me, I haven't quite talked to him for obvious reasons, but I do remember the last conversation with his sister, in which she told me that I am not allowed to call him by his first name because he is my father, and that I need to learn respect. Regardless of the things that he's done to me, he is my father and I should respect him. So not only am I making this video to give you guys the tea, but I'm also making this video for his sister, so that she knows she has me 70 shades of So this video is for you, Cynthia. So my father was once married to a woman. We'll call her Sonia. She's an amazing human being. Even though they haven't been together in a while, I still talk to her. But we weren't able to actually sit and have a conversation on the phone in a very long time. So she ended up calling me a few days ago. And did she have stories to tell me? Apparently my father got into a relationship with a girl who happens to be in my age range. While being with this girl, he was apparently spending all kinds of money and living large until this girl ended up getting pregnant. And surprisingly enough, my father was actually excited about it. He told Sonia, and I quote, "I'm happy about this and I'll get it right this time." Needless to say, I felt a certain way about it, but at the same time I was happy for him. My father was in jail for the first 3 or 4 years of my life, and he kind of missed that whole baby experience, so I thought perhaps this would be good for him. But according to Sonia, my father not only may have another child, but he's currently in jail. Do you get deja vu when he's with you? Story time on when I caught my dad making out with my aunt. Submitted by Kelsey, who prefers to not be tagged. Now, for a little backstory, I will admit that my parents have always been kind of strange. Strange in the aspect that they did not usually engage in large family function, and my aunt would just flat out not go. If my parents did manage to go to a large family function, they only stayed for about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe even an hour if they're lucky. I personally never thought anything of it, because at an early age, my aunt explained to me that my parents were just small family-oriented people. They liked the intimacy of close-knit family functionings between them, my aunt, and I. So for me, this was normal. It wasn't until Thanksgiving of last year that things began to shockingly unravel. Now let's rewind to Thanksgiving of 2020. My parents and I decided to meet the rest of the family at my grandmother's house. And to my surprise, my aunt actually made an appearance. She didn't stay long, but long enough for me to see my family side-eyeing her the entire time. I assumed it was out of shock that she actually made an appearance to a family gathering, but I learned later that was not the case. There were some whispers shared about my aunt amongst my family, but none of my family would actually explain to me what they were whispering about, because I'm a minor. Either way, it didn't take long for me to tell my parents that I was ready to go. My parents wasted no time saying their casual goodbyes, and my aunt followed shortly after. Since my mother cooked for Thanksgiving, we all met back at home. Once there, I went to my room to take off my nice clothes to put on my comfortable clothes. Don't act like you guys don't do the same thing. In the midst of picking out an outfit, I heard something strange. I could tell that it was voices that I was hearing, but they were hushed and kind of panicked. I thought my parents were perhaps talking about me, since I kind of rushed them to leave my grandmother's house. Either way, me being me, I went to check it out. The noise was coming from my parents' bedroom. The conversation sounded something like this. "You have to tell her," in my aunt's voice. "Are you insane? It's bloody Thanksgiving," my father said. "What other time to tell her?" my aunt emphasized. So I peeked inside to see my father and my aunt full-blown making out. So I did what any rational human being would do. I burst open the door and yelled, "Mom, they're kissing!" When my mother finally made it up the stairs, she moved in between me and the doorway. "They were kissing," I said, outraged. And the weirdest expression played on my mom's face. She took a deep sigh and looked towards my dad and my aunt. "Did you tell her?" my mother questioned. My dad let go of my aunt and slightly backed away from her, as if he was just now ashamed of what he had been doing. "Of course not. We wouldn't have said anything without you," he answered, as if appalled that she would think that he would do such a thing. I, on the other hand, was fed up with this, and I was cursing them all, telling them that someone needed to explain something to me before I fought everyone. My aunt finally stepped forward to speak. "We thought that Thanksgiving would be a good time to tell you about your family." I frowned. What's wrong with my family? They all looked at each other as if they were hiding something again. So I repeated myself in a more direct tone. My aunt put her hands together in front of her body and looked me straight in the eyes to tell me that she was not my aunt. In fact, she was nowhere near blood related to me. She was my father's and my mother's girlfriend, and had been since before I was born. And the crazy thing is, everyone knew but me. Story time on how I dated a TikToker that nearly ruined my life. Submitted by Destiny. To preface this story, my name isn't actually Destiny, and I won't be saying the actual name of the TikToker here because this person is well known. With that being said, I met this guy on a dating app because COVID made meeting people hard. Either way, he was super sweet, and he held my interest. Not too long into us talking, he told me about his TikTok, which of course intimidated me a little bit because I knew nothing about TikTok at the time. Either way, we got to talking and things got a little serious. He tells me that he's a little hesitant to start a relationship because his last girlfriend, in which he broke up with months ago, scarred him, but still requested that we be exclusive. I sympathized and agreed, but after talking for weeks, I started to notice some inconsistencies, such as he didn't break up with his girlfriend months ago, he had actually broken up with her 2 weeks prior. Red flag number 1. Then he started saying weird things about people on dating apps, such as people on dating apps are pathetic, etc., even though he himself was on a dating app. Yeah, red flag number 2. Then he started making random TikToks with random girls that he could never explain to me his actual relationship with them. He would call me crazy for even bringing it up. Red flag number 3. I thought breaking up with him would probably be for the best, even for him, but he low-key threatened me saying that it would only take one TikTok video for people to be on his side, so I ended up ghosting him, and you'll never believe what he did. First and foremost, I'm sorry this took so long to get uploaded, but after all the chatter in my comments, I did my own little research to figure out what this story and who it was actually about. Since the submitter did not say who the story was specifically about, I can't really say anything, but I will say whoever you think this is about, you're probably right. So let's continue. After I decided to ghost him, he popped back up a few days later claiming that his grandmother had cancer. Me being the kind of person I am, naturally I felt bad for him. And like an idiot, I started talking to him again, thinking that maybe this tragedy would make him, I don't know, mature. But as you guessed it, it didn't. After a few days, yes, days, he started again with the verbal abuse, the emotional manipulation, and overall bullshit that I thought he had grown from. But that's not even the crazy part. I got a DM on Instagram from another girl claiming that she was talking to him at the same time I was, and he was telling her that I was some crazy chick that he never met and that I was just obsessed with him. Obsessed with him. Okay. When I confronted him about it, he claimed that he didn't even know this girl, even though she had DM proof of it. And get this, his grandma never had cancer. He had made the entire thing up. Another contribution of his emotional manipulation just to get what he wants. At this point, I literally deleted and blocked him on every single thing that I ever had him on. And I'm only telling this story to make people aware that sometimes people are not who you think they are. And when you notice red flags, pay attention to them. And you should always take action to do what's best for you and your own safety. Oh, and as a narrator who doesn't usually do this, a little side note from T-Fairy, my grandmother actually died from cancer. So the fact that you lied about that is something you should genuinely be ashamed of yourself for. I'm gonna say it. I don't care that you broke your elbow. Nah, but you're a piece of shit though. Hope that chlamydia clears up. Story time about how I got into a fight with my brother's baby's mother. So first and foremost, I'm black and so is my brother. His girlfriend / baby mama is white. Now, to be fairly honest, I've only really met my brother's girlfriend on maybe 4 or 5 different occasions because she doesn't really come to our family functions and we're very family oriented, which never really mattered to me because I love my family. But I do be doing my own thing too. With that being said, my brother leaves my niece with me all the time. I love spending time with my niece, so he drops her off all the time, especially when either him or his girlfriend are working or on a date or whatever have you. My niece is 11 years old, and I started to notice 2 or 3 months ago that my niece's hair looked like it was struggling. And when I say struggling, I mean So after building up my niece's self-esteem, she ended up showing me a picture of the hairstyle she wanted. It was actually really simple, a poofy ponytail with a swoop bang. It was easy enough to do. I put a little oil on my fingertips and massaged her scalp, which was flaky and extremely dry, and I simply used water and mousse to slick her bang and pull her hair into a ponytail. I did not do her baby hairs because I felt like that was too much. Either way, she adored it. When my brother came to pick her up, he adored it as well. He emphasized how cute she was and how healthy her hair looked. It wasn't until the next day that my brother came to me and told me that his girlfriend had a lot of negative things to say about me doing my niece's hair and about the hairstyle in general. At first, I thought that perhaps she just didn't like the hairstyle, but according to him, she doesn't want me touching her hair at all. Me being me, I decided to ask her what the problem actually was. She looked me dead in my face and said,
"That hairstyle is ghetto, and I don't want her walking around looking like y'all. I like her hair straight, and I've been doing it just fine on my own."
So I told her the truth. She was doing a lot of things with my niece's hair, but taking care of it and making it look presentable was not it. Not to mention, if she genuinely refused to educate herself on the needs of my niece, then she should think twice before having a biracial child, let alone a child in general. I promptly ended the conversation. It's been 2 weeks now, and I've refused to answer any of my brother's phone calls or babysit my niece. Our mother keeps urging me to talk to him, but I'm not gonna manner. So, am I wrong? At least until I think about things. Story time on how I got one of my school's worst teachers fired. It was my second year in high school, and I was excited to start the new year, but at the same time I was nervous because I had a lot of new teachers that I'd never met. One of which was a teacher that I had heard the worst things about, but I figured if I just stayed quiet and sat in the back that I'd be fine. So class starts and I'm taking notes. Halfway through my note-taking process, I noticed that the teacher had made his way to my desk. He then tells me how disrespectful I am for having my Bluetooth headphones in while he's teaching. Aggressively and repeatedly, he tells me to take them out and give them to him. I laughed for a moment because I didn't think he was talking to me, but when I realized